Today is 12 p.m. on Monday, January 5th. This is the Ogden Valley City Council work session, which will regularly take place on Mondays. And I want to take a moment to welcome all of the council members, staff. We have guest experts here today, as well as members of the public, both in person and online. We are broadcasting through Zoom, as well as taping, so that we will be able to post and people can, if your neighbors and people weren't able to come, you can send them a link and everybody can get as informed as possible with everything here. So again, thank you all for coming today. I'm going to start with a roll call so that we have in minutes everybody that's here and present. We have a full house of council members, so we'll start on this end. We've got Councilmember Booth from District 4, Councilmember Julian Baker, District 2, Councilmember Tia Shaw from District 1. I'm Mayor Wampler, Councilmember Hickman from District 5. And on the end is Councilmember Ogden from District 3. We have our recorder, Sharon Robbins, our IT director, Kathy Zindell. Somewhere in the back, I believe, is Garrison, our treasurer. I saw her earlier. And then, of course, we have our guest experts today. We have Sherry Broadbent, our accountant from KNC CPAs, and we have Jeanette Harris, Vice President, Zion's Public Finance. So we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to stand, please stand, and we'll do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then, as is customary that we have agreed, we will start each of our sessions also with a moment of silence. So we'll just take a moment here. Thank you. All right. In today's agenda, this is going to be a bit informal, and typically in workshops, as many of you guys remember with the county, work sessions are informal, but not usually open for public hearing, and we're not looking to run it quite like that. This is an informational session. We want to be able to hear from the public, and as well as inform you, so we want it to be a two-way street. The agenda today, however, has two sections of public comment. So the first one, which we're going to have right now, is if there's anything anybody wanted to come up and say that is not regarding today's agenda, which today's agenda is about the budget and the two proposed taxes that were announced, the TRT and the energy tax. But if there's anything else anybody would like to bring to the council's attention, this section right now will be for that public comment specifically. If you do have something to say and you're in person, come on forward towards maybe the first or second row of chairs so the owl will pick you up. State your name, your address. Try to limit your comments to about 2 minutes, which I will keep track of. And then keep it to something that is relevant to the city and that is within the control of the city council, please. If anyone online would like to make a comment during this time period, raise your hand and we'll have Kathy take note of it. So if anyone in the room has any comment that is not on today's agenda they'd like us to hear, I'd be happy to hear it now. Or Kathy, if anybody's online, raise your hand. All right, we're going to go once and twice.
That's my mouth.
All right. I'm going to go ahead then, seeing no interest in speaking at the moment. I'll close the public comment section of the work session. We are having a meeting tomorrow, a full public meeting with public hearing, and there will be opportunities to comment both in the beginning as well as with options in the agenda. So moving forward, the next thing on the agenda is the budget overview. So in this section, we're going to have a brief presentation of the proposed Ogden Valley City fiscal year 26 budget. which is the gap session. All municipal cities are on a fiscal year of July 1st to June 30th. And so that means our fiscal year doesn't start until July. So we have a gap right now since we went live yesterday, 2 days ago. 2 days ago. Went live 2 days ago until our fiscal year starts in July, and so that we call our gap period. But it is in fact the tail end, the last 6 months of typical fiscal 26 years of other cities. So we are going to present the budget for that first 6 months, or the end of the fiscal year 26. And that presentation is by Sherry Broadbent, our accountant with KNC CPA.
She's getting on PowerPoint started for me.
In the meantime, tell us about KNC CPA firm, which we retained to give us budgetary advice. Can you speak up? Sure. She's going to tell us about KNC CPA, which is a firm we have retained for budget and financial advice.
And they're an amazing firm that works with a lot of local government, school districts, and a lot of different entities. They do both sides. They'll do the auditing for some things at the end of the year, but then there's also another service they provide where they'll help cities throughout the year to make sure that they can ask those questions throughout the year, and they're highly experts in their field, and they're amazing to work with.
And you have a background working in
So,
a municipality.
I was a finance director for Grantsville City for almost 15 years. I love working with government. I love helping people, serving people. That is my mission in life, is to help people. Kennington Christensen actually recruited me to come work for them. They are an amazing firm to work with, and I'm so excited to be able to use my skills and be able to come help Ogden Valley. It's exciting to see a city form from the ground up.
Okay, the screen is going. PowerPoint is
Alright, let's go to the first slide. So this is kind of the overview of the revenue sources, so you can kind of see where's the money coming from. Taxes are about 37% of the revenue right now. That's in that dark blue section. The light green, that is delayed payments for the county obligation. Let me kind of start over quick so I can explain that better.
Excuse me, can you maximize that screen because we really can't see it?
Yeah.
Government budgets are required to balance. So if you don't have enough money, just with regular revenue sources, you have to show where it's coming from. So part of our revenue, part of the way that we're balancing this budget is we're gonna get a tax anticipation note, but then also the county has agreed to help let us offset some of our payments for the contracted services until next fiscal year, which is in July. But with government reporting, you still need to show where that money's coming from. So that's where that light green 30% is coming from, is being able to offset those payments until next fiscal year. And the purple is the proceeds from our, I'll show you the numbers of exactly how much that is. On the intergovernmental, we're at 24%. This number may change. Right now, we're anticipating getting a state grant for money, which is going to help a lot. It's amazing. The state really likes cities to be prepared and to have those planning studies done. So that is in the budget now. It should be awarded in April, and we'll know for sure. And then maybe go to the next slide, and I'll show the actual revenue numbers. And I just want to say, a lot of this budget was made on estimates. It was made on the best projections we have with the numbers we have at the time. It will change as we get more information, as more contracts are signed. And what we do then is we'll do an amended budget so that we can keep you informed.
Can you increase the size of this?
We're working on it.
The ring telescopes are starting.
Will the slides be available after this meeting? Will it go on the website?
They'll be posted on the public notice website after the meeting as part of the minutes. And I probably on our website once we have one.
It's quickly coming, but not yet.
Now about technology.
Feel free to come over to this, you're seated in the corner.
Okay,
You have one to scroll.
Read on a divan.
yeah, be a van or read it and kind of describe it.
I need my water for that pointer. Here we go.
One of the challenges we face this year with taxes, especially, actually with both of them, with property tax, we won't receive any of it this fiscal year. Our fiscal year ends in June. The taxes aren't paid until November. Cities usually don't go until December, so we won't be able to receive any property taxes this year. Sales and use tax is also a challenge. There's two components to sales tax. There's a population portion and there's also a local portion. We'll be able to receive the population portion starting in January, but the local portion is delayed 2 months. And so that also makes the sales tax revenue smaller for this fiscal year. So that was part of the cash flow challenges we had with this year, is the delay in taxes. Under charges for services, this is the garbage collection charges. The garbage contractor does forward some of the fees to the city. Under intergovernmental revenue, you can see a line that says solid waste and liquid account recovery, and this is kind of a different one, so I just kind of wanted to explain what it is. So with the contract with the garbage company, if there's delinquent accounts, the city does have to pay for those accounts, but then what they do is they can turn that over to the county, and the county will refund it. So that line is showing the county bringing that money back in. There is a delay, it takes time. So there is two different lines. There's a revenue line, this one, and then on the other side of the budget, there's the expense account that shows how money going out.
Can we see the dollars? Sorry, Jen.
So
Can we see the dollar amounts there, Jen?
I've got that estimated as 5,185, and that's just an estimate, and I've got it balancing on the revenue and the expense side, so it will net, but we just want to make sure that we're tracking both sides, and so right now that's just an estimate. The next line, this is a big line for Ogden Valley, it's a Class C road allotment. The road maintenance is a big expense to Ogden Valley. Just with the snow plows and ocean, it is a bigger expense. The state grant revenue, that is the one I mentioned previously, where we're not guaranteed this money, but it is something that we anticipate getting a little more in April. Interest revenue, so the question will be, how are we gaining interest when we're having to take out loans? So when we do get this tax anticipation note, we're going to put it in an interest-bearing account. And so that way, we'll have the money when bills need to be paid, but at the same time, we can earn interest on it, and that will help negate the interest expense. So under other sources of funding, you can see there's one line that says proceeds from borrowing in fiscal year 26, and this is a $200,000 tax anticipation note that's helping to fill that gap where we don't have the money for the services this year. And also there's that line I mentioned before that says county interlocal short-term obligation. This is to show some of the delayed payments that we're going to be making to the county. You go to the next slide. So that's the revenue section of the budget.
So
Let me see if I can just.
while they're working on what's happening next, I just want to remind everybody, when you're hearing her say this year, again, we're talking about 6 months. We're talking about January to June, which is the end of fiscal year 26 for cities. So it's when she said there'll be no property tax this year, I don't want anyone thinking that means all of 2026. That is January to June. Okay, I just want to remind everybody.
No, I'm glad you did that. My head always thinks in fiscal years, and I've been doing it so long that.
Well, it was very bizarre because the county runs on a calendar year. So when I'm talking and negotiating with the county, they have their year and we have our year, and they're not the same. And so it's all fun and games. But for us, this is just January to June.
Well, sometimes when the numbers don't quite match up, that's why. Because one estimate was done off of the fiscal year and the other one was done off of the calendar year. So that is why the numbers don't quite match sometimes. So this is our fiscal year 26 expenses. So administration is about 16% of the pie. Public safety, which is your animal control, and your police department is 16%. Roads is a big expense for Ogden Valley, and that's 42%. Community development, planning and engineering, that's your light blue, that's 11%. Public works, municipal services, that's about 5%. And then we've got the grants also.
Do you have dollar amounts for those?
I have one?
Dollar amounts.
Yeah, if we
Yes.
go
We're gonna look
to
at
this
that
slide,
next.
we'll just go.
Yes, so this was to give a easy graphic so that you can see where the money goes. And if you want to give a brief, I mean, you don't have to
I won't go line by line.
Okay, straight, admin, just letting them know what that is, but
We'll just do it faster. Okay, so with administration, your big chunk on administration is showing that you've got to pay that loan back. So that 200,000 is paying it back, even though we're not going to actually cut the check until July. It's actually due at the end of June, and so it's got to be in the budget. But then after we pay it back, we'll be needing another one just for cash flow.
Is that this 1044,855 line?
Yeah.
Okay.
The administration, that covers the council expenses, that covers if you're creating new code, it goes in there, it's not project specific. Public safety is your animal control and police services, and they contracted that out with the county. Class C roads, that's been contracted out with the county, even though we don't have to pay until next fiscal year. The expenses still there to show that the expenses and the needs for during this time period. Garbage services, I've got the solid waste delinquent accounts. That's our best estimate of how much we'll have to pay out for the delinquent accounts. Community development and planning and engineering. This is, we used estimates from the study to come up with these numbers, and we also looked at the budget from the county to get our best estimate of how much it will cost. But these numbers, especially in the first couple fiscal years, will vary a little bit.
Is this still 6 months?
this is
fiscal 26 through the end of June.
January to June.
And this is something we just want to make sure I point out. There are different engineering lines. There's engineering for community development. There's engineering for municipal services where they're looking at your roads. They're looking at storm drainage. There's engineering that's specifically for new development. And we have different lines so that we can make sure we're tracking them separate and making sure that we have the different revenue streams for them. In public works, there's also weed control. And then at the very bottom, you can see that we have that grant project for the planning that we are anticipating getting. And as more contracts are formed, as we get more information, we'll be able to update it more, but we've done our best to get the best information we can with what we have. Is there anything else you guys?
Well, let me just ask a quick question, since it's very difficult for people to see the actual numbers wherever they are in the room, and there was that question from the pie chart, would it help for us to read off or tell you the numbers associated with the different pie areas, like admin is this number?
Absolutely.
So, Kay, if you're by the screen, if you want to, or somebody wants to read off those numbers.
Administration is 401,580, and this has the payback of that 10 million in it, so over 200,000 is repaying that note. Public safety is $415,529. Class C roads is $1,049,041. Garbage services is $5,195. Community development is $276,500. Public works municipal services is $123,271. And grant management is $250,000.
For a total of?
$2,521,116.
So, that's over 200 million, and that's for, that was expenses.
Could you guys hear that in the back?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, so that's,
And the revenues and the expenses would governmental budgets balance.
yes, you have to balance your budget. All right. How do we want to do? Yes, you may.
Folks, I want to foot stomp what Sherry just said in expenses. What we know is the expenses of our roads and our sheriffs. Those are fixed, we have contracts with the county. What we know is the payback to the tax anticipation note, the loan, if and when we get it. The rest of it, like Sherry said, is we've got our best estimates based on our professionals and Sherry and Jeanette and us, and many of you on what the cost will be. And most of those were based on the feasibility study, AKA the LRB study. And we took those numbers and we said, okay, good enough to start. It will change over time. The expenses for sure will change over time as we begin to operate the city. We begin to understand exactly what it costs to run these different departments. Does that make sense?
So what
Can I make another comment?
Yeah.
Just in everyday terms as well, this is like when you're building a new house and you're trying to anticipate all the costs of building and moving in. And you don't necessarily have a track record yet. So all you can do is get your best estimates from the available sources. And I'll be the third person to underscore, it's a living document. It gets changed as we get new information, as you would with your own household budget.
So, I'm going to ask this of council, actually. So, the way we have our agenda today is that there was the budget overview, and then financial overview, and then public comment. Do you want to stick with that, or do you want to actually allow people to ask specific budget questions as we're here? I'm open to.
I think it's wise.
Okay, perfect. That's where perfect. So does anyone have any questions right now for Sherry about what is on the screen, or simply if you couldn't see the screen, if you wanted to ask something that you wanted to know more about? And I see Shane has his hand up.
Shane, I'm going to be an 18 over drive. My question is in regards to grant. Can you just clarify why grant is in expenses, not revenue?
I have it in both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So can you just clarify that? It
Yeah.
seems just like it's a revenue source, not an expense.
Because you're cutting a check, it still needs to be recorded, so you have a revenue with the money coming in, and then you have the expense with it going out, and that way you can track both sides. You don't want to net it, you want to make sure that, that's how we do it in government and all accounting. And then we'll also have an individual line for every grant, so that you keep those expenses together, and that makes it easier to track, easier to report. So yeah, there is a revenue line that has it coming in, and there is a $25,000, which I forgot to say, so I'm glad you mentioned it, a $25,000 match that the city will have to do, and the grant was $225,000
is the grant.
total project. And that way, when you do have it where they're separated, you can kind of show that.
How much do you expect to have for income for the energy tax
And this is Jim Brown from,
or corn drive?
there we go.
This is two different questions. For this fiscal year budget, we're not going to receive any because there is a delay in when we actually get the money. So in this budget, it's not showing up, and that is something Jeanette will be going over later, so I don't know if you want to.
Well, so right now, we're letting anyone that has questions about the budget and finance are two different things, right? So this is the budget for our first 6 months, the end of fiscal '26. Anybody have any other questions for Sherry about revenue and expenses for the first 6 months of our city?
Transient tax.
Bruce Keswick,
We can't have you on without that.
And your address.
Bruce Keswick, on Viking. I think it would be worth it, again, if you explain, you know, there's the gap.
So we can get you
Oh,
out
that's
the
the gap.
So in the aisle there.
Explain the gap of, how funds come from the county who has collected taxes and the offset. I don't think we've heard that fully. It would be, I think, useful just to repeat that.
Say it again.
Okay. The county and the city are on 2 different fiscal years. The county has already collected a bunch of taxes. What's the amount of money they owe us and how does that come here?
The county doesn't owe us any money.
I wanted you to repeat this.
Yes.
This is a question that in the neighborhood.
Thanks for asking that
Well, I
question.
do appreciate
Let's be clear on it.
Yes, so, and a lot of people have this, either this question or this assumption. The state does not require the county to turn over any money that is collected. I mean, they could if they felt so inclined, but not many people give money when they don't have to. So there's no requirement for the county to give us any money. We become a city and we start collecting our own property tax for this year, and that is that. Now, the county has been incredibly generous working with us and negotiating finance situations. When we originally started working out our expenses and our revenues, we were looking at taking out a loan for almost $1 million. We now, as you heard, are looking at taking a $200,000 loan. That is strictly out of negotiations with the county to defer our payments to them, which they again did not have to do. So, they've been great to work with, and they're saving our new city money. But no, they do not have to turn over any money to us. The money they collected is money to pay their expenses, which I believe they pay in arrears, but I'm not entirely positive how they do county budgeting, but I believe so the money coming in pays the expense they've already paid. And that's that.
And just two kind of finance principles that are important here. One, property taxes are paid in arrears. What does that mean? The tax we just paid in November or December was for last year. So it hurts our pocketbook right now, but it was really paying for operations in a year that we were not incorporated. So that's the first idea. There are actually 3 ideas here. The second is the city will be still receiving the payments for property tax for us. But we get those taxes, they will be transferred to the city from the date of the filing of the incorporation certificate. So we are about that business today. Janet was at the county recorders to record the certification earlier today. The third principle, and it's very kind of clever, we thank the mayor for her work. Initially, the county wanted payments up front on the road expenses, the biggest part of the budget. We would just send Janet in every week or so. She first secured a deferral until the first quarter. The effect of that is like, we didn't have to take so much of a loan out at that point. She then, 2 weeks ago, I believe, secured deferral until after the fiscal year. So that is like them giving us money. It's an interest-free loan from the county that we will not have to pay until certain due dates. And of course, we always want to pay our bills. Is that fair, Janet?
It is, it is. I'll give the credit to the county for saying yes, but yes. Okay. So, any other questions about the budget? So, revenues and expenses for the first 6 months. Taxes, I know everybody wants to talk taxes, but that's the second part of the presentation. Anybody online? Is there anybody with a hand up online? Okay, and there will be another time at the end after all presentations that I'll call for public comment. So if something sparks in your head, take a little note on a piece of paper and remember for at the end of the meeting. So from that, we'll go ahead and let Sherry off the hook and put Jeanette in the spotlight, and we will introduce the financial overview part of our presentation.
Okay, and Sherry, I'll set the stage for you a little bit. Can you talk about what Zion's municipal finance does and talk about a bit about your own work with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Jeanette Harris with Zion's Public Finance, and we are a team of about 20 people. We are headquartered in downtown Salt Lake City at City Creek. And what we do is we help municipalities like yourself, like cities, also counties, also the state of Utah, also special service districts, also school districts, get the financing that they need to be able to accomplish their goals and build the projects that they need to build, whether it's new pipes in the ground for sewer, whether it's building a new school. We are the municipal advisors for Salt Lake County, for example. They needed a new county building, so we helped them issue sales tax bonds to be able to purchase the building they need and make their renovation. I want to build just a minute. Oh, let me just go on. So I have been with Science for about 15 years, and before that I was with another investment banking firm for about 5 years. And my experience encompasses pretty much everything in the municipal public finance world. I did, for 10 years, I did municipal consulting, where I worked on feasibility studies and fee studies and impact studies and economic development and that sort of thing. I've also worked on the disclosure side, because there's certain disclosure that needs to happen in the finance world when an entity issues bonds, and then also on the municipal advisor side. So, building on what both Sherry and Kay said about sales taxes and property taxes and revenues and expenditures, and the timing of those. So, as Kay said, property taxes are paid in arrears. So, property taxes collected in November, and then you guys will get them in December. But you still have expenses to cover in January. Sherry talked about sales taxes and the two parts of it, the population portion and the point of sale portion. As a new city, you're going to start out, there's a delay in that. You'll get your population portion right away. You won't get your point of sale for a couple months, right? Because the state tax commission has to collect it, record it, figure out what you get. Because of that, your expenses and your revenues do not align in a timing issue. And so it's very common for a new city like yourself to need some startup financing until a couple years down the road when you guys have built up your reserves and then the timing starts to work out. So that's where we come in at Science Public Finance, is helping you guys get the startup financing that you need to help your city to run. So if you want to go ahead and go to that first slide. So Sherry has already talked about kind of what your expenditures and what your revenues are. I just put this in there to kind of give you a feel for what is it the city has to pay for, what are the expenditures, what are the revenues. So I'll just highlight up at the top under taxes. So your options for revenue are property taxes, utility use tax, a municipal energy tax, a telecommunications tax, and a transient room tax. So right now, you have property taxes and you have that 1% sales and use tax. And then we're going to talk about the municipal energy tax. So let's go ahead and go to the next screen. Why are we talking about a municipal energy tax? Why do we need it? When the feasibility study was done, it was back in 2023. And what they did at that time was they looked back a couple years and said, what has been the percent sales tax growth over the last 4 or 5 years? Well, if you think about it, starting in 2023 and going back 4 and 5 years, what did we have? We had COVID, and what happened in COVID? Money, 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 right? Was, as we say in our office, dropped from helicopters. A lot of money the federal government threw out there, and so sales tax revenues skyrocketed, right? People had a lot of money to spend. And so in the feasibility study, they looked at that, and they took in that percentage growth over those couple years and went, oh, we have 12% growth over 4 or 5 years. Let's use 9% in the study, and we think that's good. But when we actually look at what happened after COVID in the last couple years up here in Weber County, it was about a 3% growth rate in sales tax. So why is that important? Why that is important is because the study is using a 9% growth rate to grow out sales tax revenue. A more reasonable estimate is 3%. So the feasibility study showed more sales tax revenue coming in than is probably reasonably expected. And so since sales tax revenue is your highest source of revenue right now, that's a problem. So the total, if we look at 3% growth over the 9% growth over the next 3 fiscal years, that's a difference of about $1.4 million in revenue, which is a big difference. So as we are looking at helping you guys with startup financing until your expenses and revenues start to even out, an entity that's going to give you money is not going to give a city money if they don't have the revenue to pay it back. And so if you want to go ahead and go to the next screen right there, let me kind of keep talking and then we'll kind of go through these points. If you don't have the revenue to pay it back, nobody's going to loan you the money. And with now this disconnect in sales tax revenues, the budget is showing a shortfall every year and an inability to pay it back without another revenue source to start building up your revenues. So, as we look at those, we've got municipal energy tax, we've got transient room tax, we've got telecommunications tax. Transient room tax brings in, transient rooms tax is going to go up and down, right? Because it's very seasonal, right? People are going to want to come depending on the weather, that kind of thing. That may bring in about $50,000. Telecommunications brings in very little. The tax that is dependable, that could bring in a couple $100,000 a year, is going to be your municipal energy tax. So that is why we are looking at the municipal energy tax. So just a couple bullet points here. So it provides a reliable source of revenue to repay the debt. It can be authorized immediately. There is a waiting period. So if City Council authorizes it, there is then a 90-day waiting period, and then the tax is collected beginning the first of the next quarter after the waiting period. So that would be July 1st is when it would start. But then, you know, energy companies bill in arrears, so we'd have that couple months where the energy company is collecting it. So we're assuming the revenue would start for the city around September, probably. If in the future there's sufficient revenue sources coming in that the city doesn't need municipal energy tax, it's easily authorized, it's also easily repealed. There's also low-income assistance for people who need it, and the majority of cities in Utah with populations over 5,000 have authorized municipal energy tax. It's just a good source of revenue for cities to be able to meet their expenditures. Let me just give you a quick example. So when you guys looked at budget, and Sherry pointed out your Class C road revenues, I think it was about, what, 250,000, somewhere in there? But your cost with the county to provide snowplow and road services is $1 million. Yeah. So you can see the big disconnect there, right? So a city has to have reliable sources of revenues to pay their expenditures. So let's go ahead and go to the next screen. This is my last screen. screen. And this one just shows you what the projected, and these are all projections, right? Based on information that the city could provide, the county could provide, the feasibility study could provide. What does the budget look like without the energy tax? What does the budget look like with the energy tax? So you can see in the negative, and it gets smaller every year, but those negative numbers tell an institution, I can't possibly lend the city money because they don't have it to pay it back. But with the energy tax, you can see it's in the black. The city starts to build up reserves. It can make its payments on the debt. Everything looks good. What does the energy tax look like as a resident? So the municipal energy tax is going to be taxed on the total cost of your energy, on your gas and on your electric. So if your monthly gas bill is $50, it would add another $3. If it's $75, it would add another $4.50. You guys can hopefully look at the chart and see that. Same thing with electric. I separated them out, but it's the exact same tax. So if it's 50, it's $3, $100, it's $6.
So Jeanette, can I just summarize one thing, because I'm not sure if it was clear when we went through that slide, and it was, so when she started out, she was telling you how we got to where we are in terms of being a bit upside down with lower revenue and higher expenses, and how essentially, and everybody would understand this from their own lives, if you don't have any money to pay anything back, no one's going to give you a loan. And so then we went into these, there were 4 listed taxes, and I just wasn't sure if it was clear. So then it becomes, how do we increase our revenue? And at the moment, those are the only available revenue sources that we have available to us right now, right? So I think it was Saturday someone had brought up, well, why not a property tax or something like that? Which, that's a discussion for another time, and I'm sure people would love to have that conversation. But the point is, it's not even an option right now. There's a whole process for a property tax that would happen through truth in taxation. And also, there are 4 potential taxes that we could, in fact, impose to bring in revenue. She went through them. One of them is not a revenue producer at all. That was the telecommunications.
It's a pretty small tax.
And so, and we could choose to do it, but it doesn't bring in much. So why charge you more on yourself? And so we're not doing that, and we're not looking at that. But then there's the transit room tax. That doesn't go to any of our residents. We're going to ask for that. We're going to ask for the maximum we can, which is the 1%. Was there one more? Or it was just that?
No, it was telecommunications.
Yes. And then the energy tax.
Energy.
And the energy tax, as she was mentioning, is it's one of the options that we can do to bring in revenue. It is more immediate. It shows revenue in this year. It is easy to implement and easy to repeal, and it is commonly done as a revenue source in cities. And so, as being the most viable of the 4 options, and the need to bring in more revenue because we need to take out a loan, that is why we ended up here. It is certainly not because you had a city council say, let's raise taxes, because we live here, we don't want to do that, we don't want to pay more. We have to raise more revenue. And we have these options, and this was the best option. So I just want to make sure that we understood that's why those 4 were listed. Not all of them are being talked about being implemented. And the reason why, for anyone who had the question of, well, why aren't we talking about a tax on, X or Y or Z? It's not something we can do right now. We need something right now.
And even though you won't start getting the money till September, a lending institution will go, okay, city council approved the municipal energy tax. We can count on that revenue to be coming in to be repaying the debt.
One of the questions we were asked at City Council on Saturday evening was why not propane and other energy sources? By statute, the only energy sources applicable to this tax are natural gas and electricity. Not gasoline, not propane, not wood, natural gas and electricity.
May I ask, do you have to do both, or can you do electricity?
I believe it's both.
It has to be both. Because one of the concerns that some of the residents of my area voiced is everybody's not on natural gas, so is that equitable to do that? So that's a concern, but those 2 have to go together.
That's my understanding.
I want to foot stomp, if I may, Mayor, what the mayor was saying about the 4 taxes. If we accept the premise that we have to do this, and it appears to be the only way, it is the only way that we can get the loan to pay the bills. The 4 taxes, the only one that takes us across the finish line is the municipal energy tax. I hope everybody understands the point she was making with property taxes. They are what they are right now. We inherit the county's unincorporated county tax at a mill rate of 0.000159, paid in December. We cannot change that tax until we do the process of truth and taxation, which would start late spring through the summer. The banks have to have certainty that we're going to do something. The only way that we can give them certainty is by doing this energy tax short term, so we can get the loan, so we can pay the bills. You may not agree with that, but do you understand the logic? Does anybody not understand the logic that I'm presenting? Thank you.
There was a question that came up on Saturday, and I have notes where somebody said, now, does it matter, like, have you projected, because there are people who have solar, there are people who don't use natural gas, have we had the need to project what the income will be to that tax? Or is it just that we need to show the bank, we're going to have this tax?
No, definitely need projections. So projections were provided for us. There weren't, I think, kind of in an email thread that was going, if you want it to be exact, right, you have to give everybody's addresses, and that hasn't been gone through. The projections have been made based on average use, not X people use propane and X people burn wood, and that hasn't been done based on what we've seen in other communities, the population. Yes, you have to have a projection because we have to see is the revenue sufficient to make the budget in the black. So.
My next one?
Yes. You gotta get your head in it.
One thing we haven't heard you mention, and I think I know the answer, but it relates to impact fees. I mean, I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in impact fees, even in the last few months. Those impact fees are supposed to go towards our infrastructure up here. The county has that money. Has there been discussion of getting that money from the county? It's easy to quantify, it's tied to every building permit. And could that be used as a form of collateral for short-term loans as a revenue source? You know, I don't know if there's been a proposal put together. I know the Impact Fee Act is pretty specific.
They're very specific and very restrictive, and they can be.
Does everyone know what impact fees are? Maybe explain that first and explain the process of them.
Yeah, so impact fees are highly governed by law that's very specific of what you can and can't do with them. You actually have to keep them in a separate interest-bearing account, so if you don't use them within a specified time period, you actually have to give them back to every person that paid them with interest. So it is not a revenue source that we can use. There is a study that's done that shows which projects they can be used on, which ones they can't. But what they are is it makes sure that when new people come into your community, that you get to keep your same level of service. If you had 5 acres of parks for every 1,000 people, you want to keep that. You don't want all the new people that come in and then not have the same amount of park space. So that's what impact fees are, is it helps with your infrastructure to make sure that you have that same level of service. So I kind of described that.
Yeah, so basically an impact fee is what impact is new development making in the community. So like Sherry said, she talked about parks, but it could also be water, right? So because this new development is coming in, you need larger water tanks and you need more pipes. And so if that's the case, then the impact fee is, then that developer has to pay for the impact to upsize the water infrastructure. And then, yeah, like Sherry said, the state's very specific how you use the money. You could use it to bond if you were bonding for something that,
For the project.
yeah, that tied into that project. But yeah, it has to be used within 5
And
years.
you can't ask developers to pay for more than what you have right now either.
So the monies cannot be put into the general fund for general fund.
Absolutely not, no. It's like Sherry said, it's a specific.
Is that money coming back to the city? I guess that's the question. I've spent the money for these things, for these impacts. are we getting it back, or is the county?
The impact fees are tied to the impact of that project, and they're within I'm pretty sure you know this, but yeah, they're within a certain distance as well, right? So I mean, the impact fees you would pay for Eden Crossing aren't going to go to fix trappers necessarily, they're going to fix the four-way and everything else, right? So it's very strict language about how they get used and whether, and if you don't use them in a certain amount of time, you know, so if we wait and wait on that four-way, then we have to give the money back. So you want to be really on top of your impact fees, but they're not used for general funds, municipal services, anything else. They are strictly to offset the impact of new development.
And to Shane's direct question, yes, we talked with the county,
Yes.
and yes, the answer is, the monies either will come to us and be spent by us on the projects, or they will be spent by the county if it's projects that are going to manage to complete on the project. So the monies are to be spent as anticipated when you paid them as a developer.
And Sherry, is it fair to say the lenders for this financing would not consider one-time payment or one-time fund as reliable security for extension of a loan?
Yeah, no, they want to see that it's reliable, it's consistent, and it's guaranteed. They want to mention that it's more over the financing, more than what there's look for, but yeah.
Yeah, the impact fees would not be covered for a tax anticipation.
And those are some project specific.
Are you opening this up to public comment yet? You didn't really transition.
Yes, sorry.
We have a question.
Yes, yes, that was what we were doing. That's what I thought Shane was doing. So if you have a question on finance, please just step forward, say your name, where you live, and then ask your question. Yes, this is for a free flow conversation.
Rick Walton, the impact fees is the thing of the county. Is the county transferring those over to the city, or are they going to hold them? What's the disposition of those existing impact fees?
They're coming to us. How it's happening hasn't been fully worked out. We were discussing whether or not to keep them in the account they're in and add our city, our signatories to that account so that we're in control of it, or should they actually just liquidate that account, move it over? That part of the details we haven't worked out, but we've been discussing all of this, and it is coming to the city. The city is the one that will be in charge of using them to offset the impact. Everything is on the up and up, but the details of whether it stays in the account they're currently in collecting interest and I just get added to that account and then they drop off, or they move it into a separate account within our bank, that we haven't made happen yet. Day two.
Alan Miller at Eden. Quick couple questions. First of all, what does foot stomp mean?
So when you're on your bike, stomp.
Okay.
He wanted to emphasize something.
It is foot stomp.
What kind of interest rate are we going to be paying on this bond? What is it rated at?
Good question.
About 4.5.
Okay. Do we, one thing I hate to see with taxes is taxes being put in, and then once the city starts getting this revenue source we don't want to do we have a commitment that in a year or 2 years we'll definitely look at this and say whether we can reduce this? I'm in favor of it. I just want to make sure we just don't get used to this extra little money and then we never look at actually reducing it again to remove unnecessary tax on us.
Fully understand. I'm not going to give a commitment because just like I couldn't tell you about COVID, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. What I can say is that one of the things that I'm happy about is that it's easy to put in and easy to take out.
Okay.
And so I commit, we're all homeowners here, I commit that I don't want our budget pulling taxes for anything that we don't need, right? If we're able to reduce taxes, we should. I'm not going to commit because I don't know what's going to happen.
I just wanted that to be revisited in a certain amount of time. Once you
Well,
a certain
and so
amount
what I
of money.
will, yes, absolutely. So what I will say is that we've, as a council, have discussed how we want our city to work in general, like how we're flowing out our portfolios and how we want it to work. And within finance, we've been discussing that we want to have public meetings every quarter where myself and a finance committee will sit down with the public, go through our budget, because as we said, it's a living document, it'll change, that we're constantly informing people of how things are working, where they're at, so that when budget time comes, before fiscal 27 in July, you guys, it's not new to you. You won't be freaking out because you will have seen, okay, this has gone up, this part went down, and all this. And so I want finance and budget to be a regular conversation with the public, I being we, the city council, as well as I would ask that you all hold our feet to the fire. We get tunnel vision sometimes and we forget to make an announcement about something or whatnot. So when budgets come and when we're in the black, and I'm sure we'll tell you, guess what? We're in the black. We paid off all of our loans. No more loans. Isn't that wonderful? I challenge you back to say, cool, think about repealing that tax, right? And make us come up with a reason not to, because I agree with you. I think we all agree with you. But I can't promise, because if we have a downturn in the economy and our sales income goes down, we still have to balance our budget. We still have expenses to pay. So I can't promise, but please hold our feet to the fire.
May I add to that, though? I believe that we should evaluate it in a year, and I think that was your request. Will you take a look at it again in a year? And is there a mechanism that we could put it on to review it in a year?
Well, we'll be reviewing our budget every quarter. So
I understand that, but I'm saying just this specific tax. Because I have never experienced tax being repealed. So, I think it is. It's a reminder to look at it in a year and see where we are in the budget and just make a note. Let's review that. And is there a possibility to peel that back? So I appreciate your suggestion.
And as we mature as a city, there's other areas in which we can, like transient room tax is a perfect example of that. We've got legislators who are actively working towards working on that. Right now, we're only able to get 1%, and there's other areas throughout the country that are getting much, much more than that. So that's one area that we would love to be able to look at that would help to possibly reduce that in the future.
yes.
Kevin Thomas, I live on 9150 South. Couple comments. Backing up a little bit to expenses. I think we need to get more details. When you say administrative, what is covered in administrative? When you talk about snow plows, okay, can we also look at cutting, trimming the need for those? Do we need a snow plow when there's 1 inch of snow?
This year's helps us.
So I see snow plows go down the road when there's no snow.
Right.
And why are they sitting on that?
Well, it depends on who it is, by the way. Because there's the state, and there's, right now, the county, and there is private.
Right, and so details on expenses and how can we cut little pieces out of that?
Yes.
I was the one who commented also on this tax. How can we look at how many households there are in the valley? How many of those households are actually using natural gas? And how much natural gas are they using? It's a nice concept, but if you have a third of the homes using gas and the amount of gas they use doesn't cover near half of what you're trying to get, then is it really a viable option? So there's a lot more details we need on that in order to make a good call as to whether or not that's a viable tax to look at or not. The concept is nice. If I were out in Syracuse where 100% of the houses have gas, it would look a lot better than up here.
So we did work with Enbridge to get estimates and to have them help us do it. So it is a good estimate. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but we did work with Enbridge, and there is a calculation where they did take out a portion of homes that they believe will be on propane. So it was reduced to a self-fair estimate.
So could we see, have those numbers also as part of this information as far as how many houses, what there was, so we as a collective understand what that's being based off of.
The other thing you have to remember is you guys are new. There's a lot of estimates and a lot of projections that go into a new city. The kind of detail you're talking about is gonna come, and it's gonna come down the road, but you need the money now. So if you go, we're not gonna apply for a loan until we know exactly what our sales tax revenue is gonna be 6 months from now, and that's not gonna provide you with the timing that you need.
I
So
understand that, but
we have to ask money.
we were given no information, so if your basic information was, Enbridge says this is how much gas is used in the Ogden Valley, that gives us an idea as to how close we are to it. In my mind is also going to, you said, by the time it gets implemented and in charge, we're looking at next summer. And so how much gas is going to be sold in March, April, May, June versus January, February. So
That's kind of the nice thing about having it on power and gas is the power kind of ups in the summer when people turn on their air conditioners and the gas kind of goes up in the winter when people are doing their heaters. So that is the nice thing about this tax is it kind of balances itself out a little bit. And it's nice because you receive it every month where property tax, you wait, and then all of a sudden in December, you can break a little bit. So that's the nice thing about this tax is it's more consistent.
yeah, so I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying we need details so we know if it's getting
Sure,
what we
we
need.
have talked with the state and with companies, but they are estimates. So we've done our best, but until you start some of these, you won't know for sure.
If I can speak, so number one, we have to start with estimates because we don't have historical data. What we're doing is providing the bank with what they would need to be able to give us a loan. We're giving them the best estimates we can get based off of what information we get from the vendors, from Rocky Mountain Power, from Enbridge. Now, if those numbers aren't correct, that's okay. Right now, we're giving that. We get accepted to get a loan. We get our loan. We get up and running. We're able to pay our bills for that first 6 months. We've negotiated all these great deferred payments. We pay off that TAN, take out another TAN. If that money turns out to be less than what was projected, it doesn't stop. The bank still gave us our loan and we're still working. What happens is, right now, we're projected to be solvent in 18 months, which is fast for a brand new city. If those numbers are incorrect, if anything, with any of our estimates are incorrect, what it means is basically we could become solvent maybe in 20 months, 26 months, whatever. But it's a breathing document, but it still gets us right now where we need to be by providing. The bank has said, if you will do this, we will loan you money. Okay? We're giving all the best estimates we can. We're going to work with realities when they come up. It might be more, it might be less. We might get solvent sooner, we might get solvent later, but right now, with all of our projections, we're solvent in 18 months. The other thing I wanted to point out was, again, we want finance to be a regular discussion. So we don't want it to be something that every year becomes, a battle with the community. We want it so everybody, ideally everybody understands it, so when we do it, it's so boring because you've heard it so many times. And in that, as we get real numbers, the budget will get updated and we'll be presenting all of that, right? Does that make sense? And so any questions you have, you'll be able to see today's questions and go, okay, but that leads me to this next question. And then hopefully when we get all that, we're going to answer that question for you too, and so on and so forth. But right now, with the brand new city, we're making projections off of the best information that we can get from the vendors, and then we're moving forward with that.
And also, I'd like to chime in. My perception is that these lenders are not so much looking for the exact amount of what the tax will bring in. They are looking for, do you have a source that will bring in those funds? I think the amount for them may be entirely secondary. They want to see, is there a balance between sources and what we believe will be the expenditures? Go ahead.
I can bring up what we did get from Enbridge. They're estimating 3,400 dwellings in the area. 75% are using natural gas. They're estimating a decatherm per year. I'm probably saying that wrong.
It's a quantity of energy.
Thank you. 178,500 with an estimated price of $8.10 with an estimated annual spend of $1,445,850, and then with the 6% it was around 86,000. So we did work with them. We did get the best that we could. I mean, they were quantifying how much people would use, and so it's more than just a guess. It is our best estimate that we.
And that's what I said, we would like to get details on the fee, because that told me a lot more than what I got the other night.
Yeah.
And it tells me how to look at it, what everything that was presented. It also tells me that 25% of the value is not going to be included in the tax.
It's an estimate, but yeah.
But they will have electrical taxes still to pay, and in the summer.
So that information is important.
Yes.
Great question.
Well,
Great.
Thank you.
and after we get the real numbers,
Can I ask? So is that, would you share the total that will bring in for the 6%?
I have a couple $100,000, but I have a little
total
over.
over here. Because we tweaked their information with the other information we had to create our own estimates. So that was more structured.
So do we have?
Yeah, so you're looking at about 400,000 a year.
And that's with both of them.
That's what
That's both together.
with electrical.
Yep.
Thank you for your question.
So in the 6 months, it will bring in 200 on the first.
But it's not gonna be 6 months, it's gonna be, yeah, 3, and then, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The key to the timing is, without it, we cannot get a loan. We won't see the monies until next fiscal year.
Maybe a stupid question, but there's times about calculations and everything else. Jason Ford and Crickety Drive. What is the difference between a tax and a fee? Would it not be easier and easier to calculate, and easier to see what we would need for projections if instead of a tax, it was a fee to every household? And then you could easily predict how much it would be and what it would be for each household.
Definitely sounds easier, but there's an answer to it.
Other experts need to.
Well, this is logic.
But it's a
always
good
way out.
question.
I mean, come on.
Yes.
It's being done with other things in the valley right now for legal fees. Would it be easier? Would people be happier?
Well, from a legal standpoint, you have to, you can implement what is legally allowed to you as a city, right? And so, when you talk about a fee per household, I'm not quite
Like
sure
a
what the
lot
legal.
for legal fees.
What the legal.
A head tax. It's almost like a house tax.
What's the difference between a tax and a fee?
So the difference between a tax and a fee is usually for a service, and when you have it, you have to do a study, and the fee needs to represent the actual time to do the service. It's more restricted what it goes towards.
Well, we know exactly, I mean, we can calculate it exactly precisely. And for these other people, I mean, I have solar panels, but my bills can still be, my electric bills can still be $300 a month because
Yeah.
the solar company screwed up.
The fees have to be related to something, like, when you're doing a study for the city, you're trying to figure out
Business license fees. for
business license
example.
fees. Perfect.
Permitting fees, impact fees.
Impact fees.
Yeah.
How much time does it take you to process it? What we need is money that we can use in all the different areas, not just one specific one. You might be able to do a fee for road salt, which could be very easily calculated. But with taxes, there's a very specific process on how you can implement them and when you can do it. And fee studies actually take time also, because you have to do a study, you have to go out with, they even go to the minutes, how many minutes you spent on each item, how many people were involved, how much overhead. So the fees actually take time to implement too. This energy tax is the one that we can now to give the lenders surety that they will be able to get paid back.
And just going back to what I said initially, what are you legally allowed to do as a city? You are not legally allowed to bring someone in and go, we need $400,000 a year. That means every household pays $10. Like, we can't legally do that. Yeah, you have to work within what the legislature has allowed municipalities to do.
But
They're a private company.
They're not us.
And they're, I don't know your situation, but presumably they're applying a fee for a service. This service is the provision of the water and the
We
legal.
would be providing a fee for a service.
Right, but we are the loan. We cannot legally
Yeah, I know.
do.
It's a bureaucracy thing. I got it, I know.
It's a legal thing which expresses itself.
Help us out.
Even to take money for roads, you have to do a study, a transportation study on what it actually costs.
Get the
Because
transportation.
it takes money to take those.
Question, I think.
State your name and rate that.
And I'm on 9158 East. I just want a clarification, since we're talking lenders and then you're from Science Bank, does that mean that you have been chosen
So normally, because we have a contract with the city to be your municipal advisor, so normally if you're a municipal advisor, then you would also not be the lender. But the SEC has an exemption for that, and that is if the tax note, the amount that the city is issuing is under $1 million, then you can be both the municipal advisor and the purchaser of the tax note. So we did go out and ask other institutions if they were interested in buying the tax note, because that would be ideal. Bank of Utah, or Webster Bank, or one of our other entities that we work with when we work as a direct purchaser. But none of them were willing to take the risk with the city, because it's looking right. You need to pass this energy tax, and with the new city, it's a little bit harder. Banks are taking a little bit more risk. But because it's under $1 million, then Zions Bank can also purchase tax notes. So I'm with Zions Bank Corporation. Zions Bank is willing to purchase the tax note for the city. So normally that would not happen, but because it's under $1 million and we couldn't find anyone else to do it, Zions was willing to step up and do it. Interest rate, looking at about 4.5%.
If I can reemphasize, to me at least, it was shocking that it had been shopped, and some banks were saying no. So that illustrates the precariousness of our financial situation for the short term, but also how important it is to really look seriously at this energy tax.
So that was where I mentioned on Saturday, for anyone that was watching or that was here, we were aware early on that we were upside down, that that we had a shortfall, we had to make up all that. What was new information was that we couldn't get a loan. That was the new information, and it shocked us. And so we've had to figure out how to make this happen. Is there anybody online, by the way? I don't want to forget about our online people that wanted to raise their hand to ask questions.
So far, none.
So a reminder to our online people, you're welcome to raise your hand and ask questions. Anyone else in the room that has a question about any of this?
Nick Dahlkamp, 5400 North in Liberty. So can you explain why roads and snow are in a single bucket and why that's a fixed fee? It's a loaded question, I know the answer, but maybe
Either way, I'm
Why? Good question, thank you, Nick. So we negotiated what's called an interlocal agreement with the county. It's a contract with the county. And the county wished and demanded that it be a contract for the calendar year, their fiscal year, 2026. And in that contract, we have agreed, and they have agreed, that they will provide us what they call in their vernacular snow season and asphalt season. So for the sum total of $2,097,000 and change over the course of calendar year 26, they will first plow the roads for snow when we get snow, and then they will transition to asphalt season. They will take the remainder of the amount of money, the $2,097,000 and change, and use that remainder to do a plan that we will decide the plan, work on the roads. I'm in charge of public works, by the way. I'm learning this. Everything from doing chip seal to paving to you name it will be worked with the remainder of the money through calendar year 26. Half of it's in our fiscal year 26, half of it's in our future fiscal year 27. Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Does anybody have any questions of me on my answer?
So you're saying that
Come forward.
come to the L. You're saying that it's going to make a global agreement of $2,097,000 and change. That's for them to do snow and whatever. So, like now, we aren't having them do anything other than maybe lay salt. So.
Do we get more asphalt?
We will get more asphalt. So if the question is, do we get more asphalt, the answer is yes.
Okay, and so if somebody wants to start a pothole map and
Yes, and this is Jeannie, by the way, and Jeannie lives in.
Jeannie Windmill. So,
Jeannie lives where? Lives where?
Oh, Liberty.
Yes.
so in our public announcements, you've seen this, or those of you who read it. The same question. In the past, you would call the county for a county roads issue. You call the county for a city roads issue. 801, whatever the phone number is. So if you've got a pothole, call them up. If you're not getting satisfied, let us know, and I'll make a call to Joe Hadley and his team, and we'll get it fixed.
Okay.
So, but to your point, what is not spent on snow gets spent on everything in the summer. If we, and it's not going to happen apparently, if we had a 2022 where all we did was snowplow, we would do less asphalt in asphalt season.
Okay, so I live on 3600 North, and the road is completely falling apart, so I'll call you and give you that.
Call Joe first.
There were other questions back there.
Okay, I was just gonna
This
say.
isn't a question, it's just a reminder since you're doing public works. When a developer does a development, when you put in a road, you prepay for chip seal. So don't pay for that. When you get to Osprey Ranch, it needs chip seal. Make sure you get the money from the county, it's already been paid.
Thank you, sir.
State your name and where you're from. Laura Warburton, 7328 East, 1450 North, Huntsville. Actually, not really Huntsville, between Huntsville and Eden. I've been doing that for 25 years now. Not that that matters.
You're on about city now.
That's right, we're all city. I just want to say some nice things at the end, and it may shock some people in this room. But I've already put up a post that supports the moratorium. I knew that was coming. It has to come. So I'm grateful for that. If there's anybody that's capable right now of putting a land use code up quickly, which has to happen, it's you. And it's you. And I'm grateful for that, okay? And it's you. I am thrilled that Zions is sitting at this table. I will not say any more.
Thank you.
This would be
I'll
a-
pass that on.
This would be a very different face and a different comment if Zions wasn't sitting here and another company was. That's it. So I think you guys were doing a phenomenal job from where you started. And I was very wide open. My eyes knew what was coming. I saw what was coming. The way that you have handled the county and where we came from up to now is phenomenal. And so you're working with all the commissioners, and that in itself is a small miracle, and I don't use that word lightly. So, folks, if you think this is the last time we're going to have our taxes increased, sorry, no. Read the budget, get educated, and really understand what's coming, okay? The majority of people wanted this. No, I didn't. The majority of people wanted this. Now it's time for us to vote and to be a part of reality and to do it the best we can and learn. Because everything they're telling us right now, thank you, is educational. And we need to understand that. And so I am so excited about the website. I had no idea it took 3 months to get a .org. That's .gov. It's just welcome to government. We're on now. I am so excited about that, so we can put our names in and get, information sent to us from the city. I'm very happy about that. Grateful for people who are trying to do the very best they can with what they've got. Thank you. But looking forward to all that, because communication is everything to me. And so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Brown from Buckhorn Drive here. You can kill two birds with one stone. You don't need to impose an energy tax if you immediately impose a permit fee for short-term rentals of about $1,000 per unit.
Jill, there's your journals.
All right, going once. Any further comment about the budget or finance? Okay, yes. Stage name, where you from?
Leslie Russell from Huntsville, I remember a discussion about how we could tax online purchases as part of sales tax. And sales tax is the one that we can do now and that we're getting now, and is most of what we get. Is that not a possibility? Or is that part of what's already happening?
It's already part of what's happening, yeah.
So what we had mentioned was usually there's a 50, usually your general fund's about 50-50. You got your property tax and your sales tax, which incidentally, when we talk more and more about budget moving forward, our city isn't really 50-50 right now. It's about 25-75. So that's a whole discussion for another time. But our property tax is bringing in much less money than we are in sales tax. But our sales tax then is divided between population and point of sale. And the point of sale here in the valley, for the most part, is your online.
Yeah, so, okay, great, because looking at the boxes in the post office, that must be.
So bring treats to our postal workers, brownies and cookies, they're helping bring in all that money.
And for the future, I'll pass this thought on to my husband about property taxes and having enforcement of second homes that should be paying the full amount instead of a reduced amount. Hopefully we'll look at that.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Leslie. Yes.
Ann Ladd, on Elkhorn Drive, Eden. And I just also, I want to say, I don't know how many people understand that what you all are doing and the services you're providing for free, including those elected and others, that are saving our city, saving the amount. And I just want to give you an opportunity to share that with the public, so the public understands what you all have done, including negotiating or the mayor of Huntsville offering to give us this space for free. I mean, those are not insignificant gifts.
I appreciate that.
Relative to that, all of our vendors, virtually all, agreed to cut their fees. Agreed to take, Zion's agreed across the board, 25% cut first year on what they're doing. Big deal. Sherry's partner, Gary Keddington, has been working for us, with us. Came in with Sherry, like white knights, you know, knights on a white horse. Gary negotiated considerable cuts on software that we're going to have to run for our financial operations, considerable. And also he sent us a really nice Christmas present. He said he is not charging for any of his services up through, it was mid-December, and Sherry's been working though over Christmas. So all of them down the line, people are giving. It's quite amazing to see happen. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I'll also mention, on the tax note, you need bond counsel, and bond counsel is charging half what they normally. I'll give a shout out to them.
And I'll take the nod and just point out that no one up here in City Council is being paid. We're working, I mean, since the election, it's not uncommon, 80 hours a week. I mean, weekends, holidays, cancel your family holiday because you had to get to this negotiation. Expenses that we're paying out of our own pocket because we need copies and we need folders and we need all these different things. No one's being paid for it. And so when you see the administration line and it had a percentage there, that's insurance and that's a number of things. No one up here is currently getting any payment whatsoever. In fact, we're paying our money, so.
And a big shout out to Huntsville. They're letting us use this space and an office in the maintenance shed for office hours. So that's where we are. And folks are in there setting it up and donating file cabinets. Everything we have has been donated, and we are really trying hard to keep this budget low. So thank you to Huntsville for stepping up and helping us.
for about 2 years.
It's been a minute.
Thank you. Oh, and we have got Kathy Zindel, who, you know, is a professional and runs the corporation and has been doing everything for us IT-wise, but as a volunteer. And when I tell you that we lean on her all the time, whether it's because I can't get my email to open or she is on the call 24/7, it is at no cost. And then we have Sharon Robbins, our recorder, which is a paid job. Every city must hire a recorder and a treasurer, and both our recorder and treasurer are residents who are volunteering their time.
Who's been advising us all along. She's acting as temporary treasurer, and she's just terrific. Thanks, Kate.
Any final questions for the public comment of anything budget, finance? Anything else? We have another replay of this evening for anyone who wasn't able to attend this afternoon. We're doing our best to make ourselves available at all times. I can't promise it'll always be that way, that we can be in the day and the night and everything else, but at the moment we're doing our best to do that. Our experts will not be live tonight, but all of this was recorded. It will be replayed, and City Council will be there to answer any further questions if something comes up. We also have a live public meeting tomorrow night here from 6 to 8, where our agenda, I believe it's been posted, but it's got things like a ratification of some contracts that have been put together that weren't on Saturday's agenda. It's got the ordinances for these two taxes, the TRT and the energy tax. There will be a vote tomorrow night. There will be a public hearing on it. So people are welcome to come and speak during the beginning public comment or the public hearing comment. That's all that I can think of at the moment. Well, tonight, no, only certain city council people will be at the library between 5:30 to 7.
All of them will be there. It's a public meeting.
All of us.
You can be there.
There will be a quorum of city council. I will be at the WACOG meeting down at the county. So, and then, but we will all be here tomorrow. Thank you. Seeing no further business, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
You're doing a great job.
So moved.
Stand.
All in favor?